On today's Hot Sheet, I'm discussing NAR's home staging report, multifamily permits dropping below pre-pandemic levels, and mortgage application data for the week. Today is Wednesday, May 7, 2025. I'm Byron Lazine, and the Hot Sheet starts now. Good morning, live from Connecticut in my Connecticut office and studio. Let me know in the live chat which market you are tuning in from today, wherever you may be. Eddie from West Hills, California. Nice to see you. Buying the DR from down in sunny DR, Sonora, California, with the Brad Vondrick Group. What's going on, guys? All right, let's get into it here. This first topic we're going to talk about, this is an NAR report. It's a profile report, all on home staging. It's elaborative. It's a big report. There's a lot of data that goes into it. I saw it on the agenda, almost threw it out. I got to admit, I'm like, hey, we got mortgage application data that's going to shock and surprise some today. We've got permits going to pre-pandemic levels in one sector. There's a lot of stuff going on. Obviously, Jerome Powell and the boys and girls are meeting today, and it's the final day of the meeting. He's going to have his presser later this afternoon. We're going to break it all down tomorrow in full detail. Make sure you're here with us for that one. We do the show every Monday through Thursday. Tomorrow, Thursday, we'll close out the week with the big Fed decision. More importantly, what they're going to say. So if you're new to the Hot Sheet, share this show with somebody who wants a 24-hour breakdown of housing. Tomorrow is one of the biggest shows we do every 45 days. We pick apart everything Jerome Powell said as it relates to housing. So there's a lot going on. So I'm like, really, a profile of home staging. And then I looked at the report and I said, you know what? There's a lot in here. And for my agent friends, real estate professionals that are in some of these markets where you're seeing inventory, right? We're seeing it. I mean, we have a higher level of inventory right now than we did at any point last year. Last year, we peaked in October. We're expected to continue to move up on inventory throughout May, June, July, August, and probably even September if it follows last year's trend. So inventory is going to keep going up. And in some markets, it's going to continue to put downward pressure on activity because they got more buyers that want to buy, got more options. The market slows down in the summer, certainly post July 4. In almost every market, you can look at July and August as a slowed down time period on buyer traffic before maybe in some markets you get a little bit of a seasonal lift September, October, and then the real downside comes as we get into November and December. So the slower months in a natural, normal, buyer activity market, moving forward, it gets slower, not faster. I think there's a lot of reason to be optimistic about the future. I think we're starting to build some foundational strength in the future of our market, but still going to be, listen, rates are still elevated. Transactions are still suppressed. That's the reality in which we live in. In some markets, there's still, you got 4 or 5 holes on the back 9 left in the spring market. And you can argue maybe some hole, some in the Northeast might be, 6 holes left on the back 9, something like that in terms of the spring market. But inventory certainly is going to continue to suppress buyer activity. We need buyer activity to get homes under contract, to get listings sold. And we need to convince sellers to put their home in the best position to sell. We need to show and educate sellers that there are certain things they can do. Pricing isn't the only one to put themselves in the best position. And so I thought this profile on the home staging report, which is a 38-page profile, there's stuff here, okay, was something that I view as important. I've been convinced by my own agents that home staging is value. I took so many listings for probably 7 years at the start of my probably 5-7 years before I even considered staging as an option. Okay, my own, like, hey, this stuff works. There's value in it. I mean, I just wanted to go out there and sign listing after listing after listing and play, you know, price and professional photography game. But staging has a place. I learned it on my own experience in 2020 when I bought a property in Naples, Florida. I said, there was a community, and you could see that the prices were already starting to move up. A community that I wanted to be in, but there was one home that was kind of sitting on the market, and I'm like, man, this one actually, I think, is better than some of the other ones that are selling at a higher price or getting more activity or whatever the case may be. And I'm like, why is that? I mean, the seller and the listing agent let the tenants move out and they didn't clean the place. So, but I'm in the game. I can look past, a dirty place. I know most buyers can't. It's a silly thing to do as a listing agent. There's a lot of people holding a license in the state of Florida. Not all of them are great. I can tell you that. Not all of them treat it like a business. That's for sure. And the agent who was selling this home didn't even get the place clean, but I see that as a benefit because that'll push some people away. I know how to get a place cleaned. No problem there. But then I really thought about it. I'm like, you know why this house is sitting here? They staged it with old crappy furniture. Okay. Just to make the place not look empty, they brought in outdated furniture, which made a 2015 build back in 2020, 5 years old, feel dated. Crappy photos and outdated furniture will do that. So staging can work against you too. Okay, you got to be smart when you stage. It's got to look like it's 2025, or there's no point in staging. But when you do it effectively, it really works. When you don't, it can go the opposite way. Okay. In this report from NAR, home staging effect on buyers' view of a home, 60% of agents say it has an effect on some buyers, but not always. Okay. 26% has an effect on most buyers, and then 12% has no impact on buyers. Listen, I think when you stage a home, there's going to be an impact. I just laid it out. It's either going to be negative or positive. To say that there is no impact on buyers, I can't disagree more. I've been impacted to my favor because people were pushed away. I could see through it because I see so many homes. We do this every single day. But to say no impact, I don't know. My own agents have proven me wrong on this so many times over, where they get staging done on a home and it just makes the home look different, feel different. Empty rooms look and feel different than one that's got 2025 style and taste to it. Because buyers can just vision when there's good taste and good color schemes and nice little things that are on the coffee table or whatever. Buyers can see themselves relaxing there, making a cocktail, watching their favorite movie. It just, listen, as much as some of us I didn't want to believe it for at least the first 5 years of my career. Like, hey, if the house is great and I price it great and I tell everybody about it and I, put a video on, do these things, it's going to say, hey, you might get showings, but we want offers. Activity needs to generate offers. High inventory markets, you got to show a plan how I'm going to get buyers to write on this one over all the other options, because there's a whole bunch of options coming in some of these markets, or they're already there. Impact of buyer viewing on a staged home: easier to visualize property as future home, 83%. Okay, 83% of buyer agents said staging a home has made it easier for a buyer to visualize the property as a future home. If I'm going into a listing appointment, agents, and staging's part of my game, here's the mistake most agents make when they talk about staging. Oh, we definitely got to get it staged. It makes such a huge difference. The feeling buyers, and they word it. They're at the listing appointment. I mean, great body language, looking the consumer in the face, looking the seller in the face, telling them, hey, we got to stage the homes. All the homes that I stage, they sell for more. Well, bring some data with you. Here's why they're selling for more. Here's some of the photos of staged versus unstaged. If you took a listing over unstaged, went in, staged it, sold it, that's a case study, of course. But to me, it's like, hey, the agents that we're trying to find you a buyer for your home. A lot of times, most of the time, we're working through their buyer agent representative. And 83% of the buyer agents are saying, hey, when they find homes, when their buyers see a home, the buyer's the one writing the check, not the agent. It's been easier for them to visualize the property as their future home. And if it's easier for them to visualize this versus all the other competition, we're going to have an increase on offers, or at least an increase on it at a chance of offers. It'll positively impact the value if decorated to the buyer's taste, 32%. So what does that mean, decorated to the buyer's taste? It means having a clue what year we're living in. Okay, there is a taste that speaks to most people in 2025. There is a color scheme that speaks to most buyer eyes that looks and feels good. And, it's not bringing in 1998 furniture to a 2015 build. Okay. It's bringing in 2025 style and taste. And if you don't have it, that's not a problem. Just get somebody who's got it. Just get a vendor that's got some taste. You don't have to have taste. Okay. But you better have somebody on your team or that you work with or that you can contract out that has a little bit of taste. Okay. They're more willing to walk through the home they saw online if it's been staged. Hey, online empty photos. I get it. In some price categories, not going to matter. Some markets not going to matter. But empty photos are going to reduce traffic. It just is going to. More willing to, and here's the data, right? 31%. They're more willing to see the home and walk through it physically. Right? We don't get offers unless they physically walk through it. 31% of the time, they're more willing to come see it as opposed to cross it off the list. More willing to look over some of the other faults, okay, of the property. Hey, listen, women, don't get offended. Why do you wear makeup when you go out? Right? A lot of women love wearing makeup. Haley's over here smiling. Do women like makeup, or am I making this up?
I'm wearing makeup right now.
Haley's wearing makeup right now. All right. Listen, you go out of the house, wear make like I don't go out of my house without putting the little stuff that I put in my hair. I don't want to have a chia pet head. My hair poofs up when I don't put a little bit of texture through my hair. Why do I do that when I leave the house? I want people to overlook my faults. Okay. Oh, wow. Byron's come to look professional and clean and ready to go. Today, you want people to overlook the house's faults. It should be put a little makeup on it. That's what staging is. Okay. Put a little texture in the hair so you don't have chia pet head. Will negatively impact home value if decorated against buyer's taste. That's 9%. So listen, very few people think that if you don't hit the buyer specific taste, it'll negatively impact value. Not too many people believe it's going to impact value if you don't get staging perfect. I think, listen, I've been proven wrong on this time and time again over the years. Importance of staged rooms. Living room comes in at the top, 37%. So, hey, maybe you use this data when talking to a seller if you're just trying to stage a couple different rooms. Hey, we got to get the living room, but we got to get the bedroom, the primary. We got to get the kitchen. Okay. Dining room, the yard, the bathroom, the children's bedroom or spare bedrooms, guest bedrooms, whatever, lower on the list. Okay. So if you're just trying to pinpoint a couple of rooms, this one here speaks to that. I'd bring that on the listing appointment if I'm trying to convince staging and how important it might be to get the buy. Hey, listen, you're telling me you're worried about everybody in the community sitting on the market the last 90 days. Here's how we avoid that. I have a plan to avoid it. Here's my plan. You got to follow me into the staging world. Okay. Importance of having staged photos, videos, virtual tours for listing. The photos at 50%. It's 50% much more important for the photos. And just from your own experience, from your buyer's experience, I mean, how often are they sending you empty rooms versus ones that got nice staging? Okay. And what do those nice stage ones have on Zillow most of the time? More saves, more views, whether they put Zillow Showcase on it or not. The ones that are staged and looking they're getting more views, more saves, more share, all of it. Okay. Percentage change in dollar value when the home was staged. 41% say no impact on dollar value. I know I've got agents that would argue that with me all the time. Okay. 17. So about 24% are not sure. 41% say no impact on dollar value. That's 65%. And so the rest, 35%, say it has increased the value. I know agents that are passionate about the value would argue that's going to be higher, should be higher than 35% of the people saying it increases value. What I do know for sure, if it increases traffic and activity and showings, then it's going to increase the value. And you get more traffic earlier in the home versus less. You can never list the same house at the same time twice, at the same time. Although that might be an interesting case study. List the same house and have one staged, one unstaged, see how many showings get put on each one. If you've got more showings early in the process, you're going to have an increase in the value because you're going to sell it quicker. And when you sell it quicker, you get a higher value. All right. Impact of time on the market. This speaks a little bit to that. 17% says it doesn't impact time on the market. 30% says slightly decrease. 19% says greatly decrease. So at least 50% say, hey, this is decreasing the time. 21% said they don't know. I don't know if you're an agent and you don't know anything about staging. I don't know why you're participating in the NAR staging report, quite frankly. That's like the worst thing. Send out a survey and somebody answers don't know to every question. It's like, dude, come on, wake up. Don't take the survey if you're just going to be, walking through life like in a daze. All right. So there's more there. We dropped some of the key features into Make It Easy on BAMX members. We dropped some of the key features right in there for you on BAMX. Just go into the classroom and go to our hot sheet classroom here. Every day we post this stuff. And so we've just carved out some of the highlights here. So if you want to bring those over to an appointment, you could convince somebody to get a home staged, and this can be a value for you. It's there along with all of our slides that we use each and every single show. We're going to get into multifamily permitting, and then the big conversation of the day here, mortgage applications, how that's going to impact the future. That's all there for you, as well as our hot sheet show notes and everything, all inside of BAMX School. Just go to school.com/BAMX to get in and join all the BAMX members over there. All right. Permits on U.S. apartments here. This has been expected. We've been talking about it since 2022 when rates started going up, and now it's here. Okay, some builders had to move to 22. Rates start going up. They got caught. They had to move forward with the permit. They had already raised the financing. They bought the land. They got to go. Okay, but at some point this was going to happen. After the boom of apartment building, everybody wanted to buy apartments, invest in apartments, syndicate apartments. Not saying that's I'm saying that's good. It's a good thing. But that sector of real estate got overheated a little bit. And now we're seeing that permits to build U.S. apartments has now officially dropped below pre-pandemic levels. Okay. Developers obtained permits to build 12.4 multifamily housing units for every 10,000 people in the U.S. over the past year. It's down 27.1% from pandemic building boom and down 5.5% from before the pandemic. Austin is issuing more multifamily permits than any other metro. And one of the reasons Austin is got affordable housing. Okay. They got a ton of apartment options, and it's even bringing down obviously the single family new construction because you got so much competition on the apartments in Austin. Nearly 2/3 of major metros are issuing fewer permits than they were during the pandemic. Okay. So here's the look. There's the boom on multifamily construction. After COVID on multifamily, it's crazy. And I'm looking like, man, I'm looking at some of these prices on some of these apartments. It's hard to build affordable apartments, just like it's hard to build affordable house. I'm looking at this apartment building going up maybe 5 minutes from my down in Naples, my Naples home, and it's like, I mean, it's a nice apartment, but it's just in a parking lot. I think there's a car wash over there, maybe a Publix or something is next door, whatever. And it's like $3,500 for 2 bedrooms. And like Naples, there's a lot of people with a lot of money. Okay. And people retire and they got some money and they go buy a house. I don't know. I mean, the service workers aren't renting that. Some of these builds, I'm like, who's the target market for $3,500 a month to rent? Inventory's up. If you're a retiree and your dream's been to move to Naples, like you can go negotiate something for and own it for $500,000. Why would you want to go get a 2 bedroom, 3,500? It doesn't make sense to me. 3,500, 4,000. Some of these luxury apartments might get stuck. And listen, if the builders didn't feel like they were going to get stuck, you wouldn't see this number falling off a cliff. This is lower than pre-pandemic. Really, this is lower than 16, 17, 18, 19 on permit level. They are stopping, okay? They're like, whoa, we're building too much apartments in some of these markets, and it doesn't make a lot of sense in a lot of markets. I said this to somebody right down in that town in Naples. They were building in Bonita Springs. Hey, this was the end of 22, 23. People are just going to keep coming down here forever. I said, dude, I think in a year we're going to have more inventory than you could have ever imagined. And I think you shouldn't move forward with building that apartment in Bonita Springs. Next time I saw him a year later, he's like, dude, we're having problems. I said, I know. You're just building too many apartments. Okay. So they've stopped. 63% have posted this decline. Here are some of the metros with populations of at least 750,000 and where they're at on permits. Okay. So Atlanta's got 19.1 permits issued per 10,000 people. That's above the average. And pre-pandemic, it was 15.3. So they're actually above pandemic level in Atlanta and they're above pre-pandemic. So Atlanta may be one to watch out for. If you look at this, Austin, 64.5 permits per 10,000 people right now. During the pandemic, that was 94.5. They're still above pre-pandemic at 49.6. So overall, we're below pre-pandemic as a country, but those are some of the Atlanta, Austin, some of the ones that are still above pre-pandemic levels when it comes to permits. And let's take a look at Boston, 11.3 per 10,000 people. It was 20.6 during the pandemic. And it was 15.4 pre. So Boston is below pre. Cape Coral, here's one of those markets that I talked, they should be slowing down and they're not. 59.6. It was 30.6 pre-pandemic. There's so much inventory in Cape Coral. I think that's a silly number. But they just they haven't won in decades. But the thing with the Raiders is win, baby, win. I don't get it. Builders in South, it's just build, baby, build. No matter how much inventory is going to get accumulated and kind of sit on the market. But I think that would be a place I would not want to invest in rental property in Cape Coral right now. That's just me personally. Okay. Unless I can get a great deal, there's deals in every market. So in those senses, obviously you would do that. Dallas, 27.5 right now. Pandemic was 31.1 and pre-pandemic 31.1. So Dallas has cooled down and said, whoa, we're going to follow the trend here with the builders across the country. We're going to pull back. An area like Hartford, where you only got 2 months of inventory, Hartford, Connecticut, you got 9.4 right now. Pre-pandemic, it was 5.9. It makes sense for that one to be flipped because there's no inventory. Okay. I think that makes sense. That's an area that you'd want more inventory. Speaking of the Raiders, Vegas at a 9.7 right now, permits per 10,000. The pandemic was 14.7 and pre-pandemic 13.4. Vegas feels a lot more in control than they have in the past in market corrections. So those are some of the highlights there. I'll take a look. Just one other one that stands out to me: San Antonio, Texas. Similar to Austin, you've seen a lot of building. Pandemic, they were at 34.1. They're at 15 right now. They're still above pre-pandemic, which was at a 10, but they've come way down. And, we saw that the last couple of years, price had a lot of pressure there. Inventory was going up. So kind of learning about how to get ahead of this, maybe from the multifamily building perspective. Listen, rates are one of the biggest reasons. You probably see more building if it wasn't for the rates. And as rates come down, expect these numbers to go up. How far will they go down? I mean, we're really, this is the low point in years on developers obtaining permits for multifamily. We expected it here, and now it's officially a reality. Let's take a look at the reality of what's going on with mortgage applications. Okay, so there's been a lot of uncertainty, a lot of volatility. The rates kind of been just hovering here in the high sixes over the whole month of April. That's where we've seen it. We thought we were going to go low in the beginning of April after the tariff day and all of that. And it did for a short period of time. And then the 10-year went up. And so, we talked through, why was the 10-year bouncing up? Times of uncertainty usually moves down. Maybe China was selling off some of their treasuries to, bring a higher long-term rate. They know this administration wants a higher rate. Of course, they've got an incentive here to inflict some pain so they can get a better deal. All of that could be a scenario. But the rates haven't moved down into those low sixes. Signs are that maybe we won't get low sixes for the high buying season. Certainly the high buying season is basically almost coming to an end. Despite all that, an interesting thing happened last week. Mortgage applications increased 11% over the last week. Rates didn't move down, yet applications move up 11%. Okay, that's the top line number. So is this a sign that there's a whole bunch of refinances going on? Well, the refinance increased 11%. It was 51% higher than the same week a year ago. That's interesting, but that's not the story. The story is the purchase index. This is what we care about. Are new buyers entering the market? Because that's going to signal strength 60, 90 days from now in terms of pending sales and what future sales later on this year could look like. And the purchase index increased 12% compared to the previous week, and it was 13% higher than the same week 1 year ago. That to me is a future looks bright scenario. Now, I mean, I get it. And we put this into BAMX for you. Like, I get it. You can pull the chart, which I'll do in today's, hot sheet, and we're near 95 levels. That's why I think 95 is an interesting year to compare to. The interest rate then was 8.5%. Homes have appreciated 300% since then. But, we're still around 95 levels. We're still around recovery levels of 11 and 12 on mortgage applications. We've got some room to go to get back into what we would like to see 2017, 18, 19 levels on purchase applications. We're a ways away from that. But 13% same week a year ago, we're improved 13%. We're up 12% here. Week over. These are really good numbers. These are future looks bright numbers. These are, if the rate, as we've seen in the past, gets down closer to 6%, can bring even more buyers into the market. I think it's going to be slow in the short term. 2 years from now, it'll feel like we've, if things trend in the right direction, we've really come a long way and we're back to a really normal market. But future looks bright when I see those numbers. 60, 90 days out from now isn't going to be a ghost town when I look at those numbers. There's still people who want to buy. If you're doing an application now, 80 days from now, those folks are probably going to close, the ones that are serious. The rate is at 6.88, so move down a tick from the 6.9. It'll be interesting to see. It's all about this afternoon. It's going to be interesting to see what the 10-year does. Don't expect much movement on the 10-year today, until you get the Jerome Powell presser this afternoon. We're starting the day at 4.316. That's really kind of a high level for the last 5 days. It's roughly where we've been over the last 30, roughly where we've been over the last 60 days. Okay. Outside of those couple of low points. So it'll be interesting to see, based on Jerome Powell's conversation at the presser, what he says about future rate cuts, what he says about that GDP number in quarter one, and for us, what he says about housing. We'll pull all the transcripts after this press conference here at BAM. We'll break it all down. You'll have every single timestamp that Jerome Powell mentions in prepared statements and in question and answer as it relates to housing, so that you don't have to go digging for it. You don't have to watch the whole thing. We're going to break it down. I'll put it in the show notes tomorrow inside of BAMX so you can use it in your literature, in your communications with clients, in your shows, whatever the case may be. But we're going to break it all down here tomorrow, 9:30 East Coast, 6:30 West Coast. You know the deal in between. The simple way to get notified is just subscribe to the YouTube channel and hit the notification bell so you know when that goes up tomorrow. It's the big Jerome Powell day, and excited to bring that to you guys tomorrow. The show's brought to you by Zoodealio. BAMX members have access to Zoodealio completely free. It's an amazing product to help you compete with some of these interesting campaigns that agents are offering. You can have your own twist on bringing value to sellers up front by using Zoodealio. So check that out if you're a BAMX member, and check out the hot sheet tomorrow as we break down the Jerome Powell conversation and decision. I'll be with you then. Until then, of course, toodaloo.